10, I'm just gonna write quickly up here on the board. Again, we are still scheduled to have our exam on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Dr. Fitch will be administering the exam for chapter 10, since we won't be able to hit. Please make sure you look over these terms: agonist, antagonist. I think the other one in that list was synergist. Synergist, okay, and like, I think, I'm not gonna write it, but fixator, that was
Yeah.
the stabilizers, okay. The other thing is how muscles are named. That, those naming categories, I believe there was seven, I think there's 7 criteria, 7 or 9. I think it's 7.
Yeah, I think it is too. Location.
Yeah. Criteria.
ERIA.
Thank you. I'm a little brain dead, and I have a lost cat. Just throwing that out there.
Your cat hasn't come back?
No.
Time to get a new one.
You shut your mouth.
It is.
Well, that's.
It's not
I
enough
mean,
time.
I don't.
You don't think? I think I should wait. I need to wait a little longer.
I look
My
at
cat's
it.
been missing since June, and I still can't, like, somebody stole him, I know they did.
You think
because
so?
He was a cool cat. He used to visit all the neighbors. They planted catnip and all kinds of stuff for him. They called him Orange Sickle.
But he would. So he would go to people. Yeah. Movements. And guys, and remember when I'm talking about movements, I'm like flexion, extension, those kind. Look that list over, guys. Again, don't get too caught up in this stuff. Look it over, okay?
Now we need to switch to dogs. Cats are just little.
I have dogs.
Okay, now I'm
My cat
thinking,
is
yeah.
super loyal to me.
My cat is, my other cat.
Both of them
You
were.
are a cat lover. That's unusual for. I shouldn't say that. That's stereotyping. But I shouldn't do that. Okay.
I am very not gender stereotypical. I already know that.
Joints, I'm just gonna write this stuff down there, make sure you know the 6 classifications. Definitely look those over fairly well. In regards to the synovial joints. What were the other things in regards to joints? Classification systems. Now I'm going over chapter 8. This is chapter 10 stuff. Yeah, I wrote that, okay. Chapter 8. Okay. Classifications. Functional and structural classifications. Of joints. That was things such as, hold on, I can't spell and say at the same time. Synarthrosis, diarthrosis, ampiarthrosis, remember all that? Okay. Yeah, I might have to write another list on the other side if we can't finish up this chapter, because, so, when we started on last Wednesday, I'm gonna pull this back up. I don't wanna keep hashing over this stuff, but please, guys, know I'm scooting on down. Bless you, because I don't wanna take too much time here. We talked in detail about the myosin actin, okay, sliding filament theory. I realized this was very confusing, and I'm sorry. So, know the concept of resting membrane potential, okay? The charges that are on either side in regards to then how an action potential is sent. Depolarization, repolarization. Now, you guys were questioning in detail, and I apologize for this, I was getting flustered, and I think with everything going on. But you were asking, well, how do we reset this? Well, the sodium-potassium pump is running at all times. That is an active mechanism, but that helps to reset the membrane back to resting membrane potential. Not only with those potassium gates that are open, allowing the influx, or I should say outflux of potassium, but the sodium-potassium pump is also working at all times to reset this, to get this back to resting membrane potential, okay? We don't need to get all nitty gritty and understanding that 3 sodium, 2 potassium at all times are moving against the concentration gradient. We just have to understand that the sodium potassium pump is helping to reset this. Okay? All right, moving on. Then we talked about muscle propagation. We started talking about definitely know the components that are found in the neuromuscular junction. Okay, we went over this. We mentioned the neurotransmitter that is released. Okay, so definitely go over these steps again. Okay, know the significance of that enzyme, acetylcholinease.
I was
okay,
actually
that-
just reading about that the other day. The discovery of the neurotransmitter was like 1910, 1919, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He took 2 frog hearts and put them in one denervated and one of them innervated still. And then he took some of the innervated and put it into the denervated, and it started reacting. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
All right, we finished up here, guys. So let's combine what we just learned here, the action potentials being sent down the axon terminal to the presynaptic cleft, releasing that neurotransmitter. So now we basically just caused kind of like, I would say more of like a jump. I wouldn't say jump, I'm using the term, we're kind of passing on the action potential now to the muscle membrane here, okay? So that neurotransmitter is released, that acetylcholine then binds to those receptors, it's very specific, okay? Causing those sodium gates to open. Sodium rushes in. Remember what happens when sodium rushes in? Depolarization. I basically now just passed that action potential along to the muscle membrane, okay? So now we just passed it along here. And I think we just discussed briefly here, then acetylcholine is broken down. We need that acetylcholine broken down by that enzyme that we mentioned, acetylcholinease. Because if it's not broken down, then we have continual stimulation. We can't have that. That's actually how toxic nerve gases work. They cause constant, they basically inhibit acetylcholinease, causing that constant stimulation. That is a toxic effect. It is non-reversible. Whereas caffeine is reversible. It does the same exact thing, strange enough, but it's reversible. It inhibits acetylcholinease just like nerve gases do, but it's reversible. Yep, it's only temporary. So, because if we had that constant
talking like
stimulation, what?
Nerve gases like sarin, VX.
Yep, that they give like for warfare.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how they work. They actually inhibit acetylcholinease permanently.
Yeah.
That's toxic. That constant stimulation is toxic.
And
You can
it's-
only take so much.
It's not reversible.
Right. Yep. Caffeine, it's crazy. It works the same way. It inhibits acetylcholinease, but it's reversible. It's only temporary.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
can break it down.
yeah.
The other thing your body can't.
I mean, there's only, I guess you could take in enough caffeine to make it toxic, but
That's a lot of caffeine.
that's a lot of caffeine. We've all been there. We've all been there, giving ourselves the shakes.
That's been so
Yep,
long.
yeah, I get it.
Long time.
Okay, so now let's link, we just made that action potential get generated now to the muscle membrane. Now let's link that to the actual contraction, mechanical motion that causes those fibers to contract, to move. The actual mechanical movement of those filaments, okay? All right, so number one, again, I'm gonna go step by step. So now, again, we've already sent that action potential down the muscle membrane, the sarcolemma. Remember that term, sarcolemma. That action potential is gonna be generated not only down the sarcolemma, but down the T-tubules, okay? Generating that motion down the muscle fiber, down the sarcolemma, and down the T-tubules is gonna cause that muscle contraction to be conducted much quicker, okay? So as you see here, that action potential is making its way down the T-tubule and down the sarcolemma, causing, again, that propagated motion. Depolarization, repolarization, depolarization, repolarization. And what happens every time we do that? We open up those sodium gates, sodium rushes in, okay, causing depolarization. Okay? Then we want to equalize back to repolarization. So then sodium gates close, potassium gates open. We still have that sodium potassium pump running at all times that's going to bring this back to resting membrane potential, because we cannot have constant stimulation of our muscles. Okay? So when that sodium rushes in, notice right there,
Is this part of what causes like ALS, like Michael J. Fox?
I really can't. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. Potentially because they do see a lot of disorders in regards to stimulation of the actual muscle fibers, and then you've got a lot of problems too here, where again, when we're having that sodium rush in, calcium, please make sure you highlight no. Again, the sarcoplasmic reticulum is where we have a high concentration of calcium. So sodium rushes in, causing the release of that calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That calcium, we're going to connect it now, because you're like, well, now where's calcium come into play? Do you remember when we talked about way back that the actin has those calcium binding sites?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's put it together. So now you're starting to see the connection there. You're like, why did it have those calcium binding sites? Well, you'll see right here. So calcium gets released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, okay? Calcium then binds to here on the actin. Remember, you have that calcium binding site located on actin, located on the troponin component, okay? That calcium, when it binds to the actin binding site on troponin, okay, causes tropomyosin. Remember, tropomyosin is that string-like that is covering those binding sites. It causes tropomyosin to move from the active binding sites. As you can see there, it exposes those active binding sites, then the myosin attaches. This is called cross-bridge forming.
That's it.
No, Alyssa. Have they been in lab? Yeah? No?
I don't think Rowan's been in class.
He hasn't been here in a while. Okay, so again, guys, that action potential is going to be sent down the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber, okay? Causing that influx of sodium. That influx of sodium releases that calcium in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That calcium then binds to troponin on that receptor, on the active site, okay? When that calcium binds, tropomyosin, that filament, will move away from the active sites on actin. Okay, as you see there, they look like little olives to me.
Mm-hmm.
That tropomyosin will move away, exposing those active sites.
Right, because the troponin is the little
Troponin is the red. Remember, there's 3 units to troponin. There's 3 units to troponin. And one of them, the most one we're really correlating with, is the one that binds to calcium. Okay? Again, when that calcium binds, the tropomyosin exposes the active binding sites, allowing myosin heads to now attach. That's cross bridge formation, okay? Moving on. Now let's go through the steps of cross bridge cycling, guys. This is all in your book. We're gonna go step by step, okay? So definitely know the steps involved with cross bridge cycling. Cross bridge cycling is basically the mechanical component of muscle contraction. As you can see here, we use the energy from ATP to cause that movement of that cross bridge. Okay, so let's go step by step. Step number 1, exposure of active sites. Again, we have that calcium binding, binds to troponin, moving tropomyosin. You see here, this is a little bit more of a clear picture. Moving that tropomyosin away from the active binding sites. This exposes those, I call them the little olives there, okay? That's step number 1. I'm really breaking it down. Step number 2, now we're gonna have cross bridge formation. We just exposed those binding sites, okay? Now the myosins can attach to those active binding sites.
Can you go back a slide?
Do I go back one?
Yes, please. Okay.
Okay. All right, cross bridge formation. When we're talking about cross bridge formation, that's when that myosin head attaches to the actin binding site. Okay. Now cross bridge movement. We call this the power stroke. So you see energy right here. The energy in the form of ATP, we're releasing that ATP, reducing it to ADP in a phosphate, okay? That movement allows that, basically the myosin head moves like, we call it like a power stroke. It moves and releases, okay? So energy in the myosin head, that ATP, gets released, okay? Reducing it to ADP and a phosphate, doing a power stroke. Okay, that allows the actin to slide past the myosin. Remember, we're not shortening the filaments, we're just moving them closer and closer together, okay? The ADP molecules are then released from the myosin head. We basically used up that energy. So now we've reduced it to ADP and a phosphate. We've used it, so we release it from the myosin head. Now cross-bridge release. So the ATP molecule binds to the myosin head again. We have basically a recharged ATP that binds to the myosin head, causing the myosin heads to detach. Hydrolysis of ATP. Myosin, remember that myosin head contains that enzyme ATPase, is going to break down ATP into ADP in a phosphate. This remains attached to the myosin head as is, broken down like that. Now we have the recovery stroke. Now the myosin head is going to return to its resting position. The energy is restored. If calcium is still bound to the troponin, cross-bridge formation will occur again. The same, it'll keep going if calcium is attached. Okay? That continues the muscle contraction. So again, it'll do the same exact thing. It'll attach, the myosin head will attach to the actin binding site, power stroke, release when that ATP reattaches to the myosin head. Okay, again, if calcium is still attached, it'll reattach, power stroke. It's basically just moving, like that sliding filament theory, moving those actin filaments closer and closer together. It's not shortening them, it's just getting them closer together.
So they're just playing tug of war.
Yeah, just they're like, it's pulling them, yeah, that's exactly, and it reattaches, moves it. Reattach, so it's gonna reattach, moving it closer, and then reattach at a point down here. Think about that, like it just keeps moving it closer and closer together.
So does it just keep going to all the calcium issues or to the contraction is done?
Well, contraction is over when calcium releases. So if you no longer have calcium present, contraction will stop. We need that calcium component to continue the muscle contraction. Any questions on any of that, guys? Know what cross-bridge formation is. Know the steps involved with cross-bridge formation that we just went through. The other big thing, definitely make sure you kind of highlight and know is the significance of calcium and where it comes from. Which one? This one? This one? Okay. Sorry guys, were you writing the other one? I'll go back to it if you need me to. We're good on the last step, okay? This is laid out in your book, connected all together. This, again, this is straight from your book, guys. You don't have to write these steps out, but definitely look over it. More of the questions are going to be in relation to the steps involved in this first portion here, okay? That action potential being generated down the neuron axon, okay? Releasing that acetylcholine in the synaptic cleft, attaching to those channels, opening up the sodium gates, allowing sodium to rush in. Most of the, like I said, most of the questions are gonna be broken up like that. So you're gonna have the neuromuscular junction steps first. Then you're gonna be asked steps involved in regards to the cross bridge formation, okay? Basically, transferring that action potential to the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber. It's generated down the sarcolemma as well as down the T-tubule, okay? Releasing that calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. And then we get into the cross bridge formation. As long as calcium is present, muscle contraction will continue, okay? So muscle relaxation. We're finishing up the chapter now. It's kind of good. Finishing it up, wrapping it up. There'll be some questions in regards to muscle relaxation. Definitely on the energy sources of muscle contraction, and we'll get to that here in a bit. We have 3 main sources. So muscle relaxation occurs when acetylcholine is no longer available in the synaptic cleft. You can even see there when acetylcholine is broken down by acetylcholine ACE, that enzyme, muscle contraction will discontinue. You can't have constant stimulation. And it's kind of a cascade. If acetylcholine is no longer available in the synaptic cleft, that kind of a cascade, other mechanisms won't occur, okay? So action potentials to the sarcoplasmic reticulum will stop. Acetylcholine is no longer available. Action potentials will no longer be generated down the sarcolemma. So then calcium is no longer available. Calcium will no longer be attached to the actin, okay? Calcium will begin diffusing away from the troponin molecules. Once that calcium detaches, tropomyosin blocks those actin binding sites. Cross-bridge formation stops. Think about it's kind of a cascade system. Once this stops, once the acetylcholine has stopped being released, all the other things stop as well. I always wash my hands at the lab, so I walk right into the bathroom and just start washing my hands. Didn't even think anything of it, I was just really focused on washing my hands, apparently. Next thing I know, there's a guy that walks in and I went, you got where this is going? You got where this is going? I'm literally washing my hands. I was so focused on washing my hands. And the guy walks in and I went,
You didn't notice there was a urinal right next to
nope,
you?
not at all. Apparently not. And he did one of those. He walks in and we both, and he looks at the sign because he starts getting confused. He goes, and I went, what? Oh. And I said, I was the only thing I meant when I was washing my hands, I said, wow, they changed the sinks. I literally said that. I said, wow, we got new faucets. Like,
Wow, they really downgraded in quality.
and I was like trying to check, there's no mirrors. Wow, they changed the whole bathroom setup. And then I was like, literally the guy comes in, he goes, I said, I just left the water. I run out and I go, oh my God. And he goes, and I'm like outside the hallway, soapy hands. And I said, you know what, I probably could have rinsed, but Didn't even think about it at that point. I said, can you shut the water off for me in there? He goes, I got it. I was like, okay.
Was he faculty?
Yeah, he actually was. He was like the head maintenance guy. And he goes, because he did a double take too. He thought he was in the woman's room. And I said, what? Oh, apparently it's just unisex now. It's just unisex. It's all.
The bathroom is a bathroom.
You know, it's just unisex. That it doesn't really matter at this point. No. And I probably wouldn't have even. Thank God no one was in there. That would have been.
You might probably caught on maybe somebody.
Yeah. Let's just be thankful that there was no one using the facilities at that time. Well, that I know of. Because that was.
I mean, it
so
probably
cool.
would have keyed you into you being in the wrong bathroom a lot quicker.
Oh no, that was really key. Yeah. Oh, it became a family bathroom apparently. Okay. All right, motor unit. I don't know why that just made me think of muscle. I don't know what I just got. I got the giggles. I'm not sure, but it's just that's where my brain's been lately. Okay, guys.
The men's bathroom? Oh, that's weird.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Oh Lord. Oh, well. All right, motor unit. Okay, this is, so basically a motor unit is a group of muscles. Know the definition, okay, in regards to a motor unit. Know the general kind of concept in the sense of large muscles are going to have motor units with many muscle fibers, because think about it. When we're thinking about a large muscle, a large movement involved with, say, our thigh muscles, our quad muscles, okay? That kind of movement doesn't necessarily need like fine motor skills. Like we're not really fine tuning movements. It's just a gross, large movement. So that motor unit is going to have many muscle fibers involved with one neuron, okay? Now smaller muscles, think about our finger movements, more finer tuned muscles, okay? They're going to have innervation by one neuron, and it's only going to innervate just 2 or 3 fibers. That's going to be our smaller, finer movements. Okay, what, Jason? Goosebumps? Well, yeah.
Is this particular to like
Well,
skeletal
yeah, 'cause
muscles?
I think right now though, Jason, we're more looking at skeletal muscle movements, so voluntary muscle movements. Not really looking right now at smooth muscle. That would be more smooth muscle movements. We don't have really control over goosebumps. Worked in relation to more like skeletal muscle movements, voluntary. Think of our gross movements, things that are large movements, and then I think of like fine movements, like with our fingers. You said texting?
No, text them.
Oh, yeah.
So large is 2,000 and small is 230.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of. But look at the size muscle we're referring to, things like our quadriceps and things,
Right.
you know, our pectoralis, made like our large muscles that they wouldn't be able to have all that fine, we don't have a lot of fine-tuned movements involved with
Right.
our quads, you know, or our pecs.
You see some of those dancers out there though.
Yeah, but that's not, I get it, if it's not like fine movements. Think about our fingers.
Some of them are.
We talk about movements or like, you mean like their dancing skills?
They're like you see on like the Red Bull breakdance kind of stuff.
Oh.
The way they're able to move their bodies, just the slightest emotions in muscle ways that you
Well,
wouldn't
you're
think
right,
possible.
like the constant contraction. Okay. when I talked about before in the sense of, I think I mentioned before, and I'm so sorry for confusing you guys, when I mentioned threshold, this is basically what I was referring to. Action potentials are sent along muscle fibers based upon all or none principles. It either happens or it doesn't. If it doesn't reach that threshold mark of that 55 millivolts, okay, action potentials will not happen. We need to reach that threshold value in order for that action potential to be sent. That's what I was referring to. Again, I apologize in regards to the action potentials and muscle contraction. It's an all or none principle. It either happens or it doesn't.
What do you mean by above 55 millivolts? Wouldn't that create more?
Well, okay. I wish I had, hold on. Ugh, I guess I don't have a, you know, I don't have a graph when I need one. I thought I did on here.
Is it like AM radio where
Millivolts.
it's changing the voltage on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
And when
it's
it drops,
electrical.
when it drops the voltage, so it always has this constant voltage. When it drops voltage,
Yeah.
that's when what creates the movement.
So, hold on, let's see. I have a graph on here, 'cause maybe I don't. I know. Slides. Well, some of them, like I said, guys, we're not gonna cover this, we've already covered, that was the other thing, levers, I'm gonna write on that list, thanks for reminding me, guys, levers. Thanks for reminding me, guys. Levers, we're not gonna go over them today, cause we went over them on joints, levers, classes of levers. Yeah. 1, 2, and 3. Guys, briefly look over that, and examples of classes of levers. So not only know the general definitions, but know examples, okay? So that would be number, what do we got, 6? Okay, alright. Any other side notes I can think of as we go along? Okay. I apologize, like I said, Michael, I thought I had a graph on here showing you how an action potential is sent once it I thought I had one with action potentials, how it dips below the 55 mark to cause.
No, it's fine as long as it's like an explanation, like just trying to understand. So it is when it dips below the 55 millivolts, it starts the action potential.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, waste time trying to find it, I must have it on the other, because it would go along with, action potentials. Okay, so we just covered motor units and all or none principle, it either happens or it doesn't. So,
Can you go back to the 54? Thanks.
this one, guys? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you do say it right there, below 55 MV on your same
Correct,
slide.
yeah.
So
Normally,
you-
guys, normally I will tell you though, I don't ask numbers.
Right.
Very rarely do I ask numbers. So the main concept out of the slide is all or none principle. It either happens or it doesn't. and it has to reach that magic number. Like I said, I don't ask you magic numbers.
Unless it's 42. The meaning to life. But what's the question?
What does 42 have to do?
Really? It's Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, did anyone else know that?
You were talking about movie 43 for
Oh.
No.
Okay. All right, muscle twitch. Briefly look over this in regards to, so muscle contraction occurs in response to a single action potential. It results in this kind of 3 phases, okay? You have your lag phase here, your contraction phase, and then your relaxation. We've already talked about kind of how contraction occurs and then relaxation occurs. So muscle contraction occurs in these 3 phases: lag, contraction, and relaxation.
Is it lag or latch?
Lag, L-A-G, or latent, like kind of like a dormant period, I guess you would say, yeah. Phases, briefly, guys, going over the quick phases, okay? Your lag or latent phase. This is the time span from the time the action potential reaches the muscle until tension or contraction actually occurs in the muscle. That brief 1 to 2 milliseconds, wow. Again, you don't need to know the time frame. This is usually in relation to, think about the time frame when calcium is released and the time that it would take that calcium to reach the troponin. The contraction stage, now this is when the muscle is actually contracting, generating force, tension. This is going to be associated with the cross-bridge cycling. And then stage number 3 is relaxation, like we've already talked about. You've got that calcium. You've got kind of that cascade reaction that occurs. Acetylcholine is no longer being transmitted across that synaptic cleft. Action potentials are no longer being generated on the sarcolemma. Calcium is restored back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, causing contraction to stop.
Apparently the Ed Center is on a lockdown right now.
Who?
The Ed Center,
What's the Ed Center?
the education center here.
Why?
I don't know.
It's on lockdown.
It's on lockdown.
Really? That would be what someone just sent me.
Yeah, my work wife just messaged me that.
You say his work wife.
My work wife?
Absolutely
My wife has a work life too.
I had a work wife in California, work wife in Colorado, work wife here. Had a couple of them.
not. Boy.
My wife
wife's
knows
work
all of
wife
them.
is her sister's second wife.
My wife knows all of them.
Your wife is strong.
I've always gotten along better with women than men. Always. I'm friends with many of my ex-girlfriends. I don't know.
Whoa.
This is what happens
Remember-
when I'm just
remember-
looking up a story,
Remember
guys.
when she said that
You get
something
to
about
choose.
gender stereotypes?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't fit many male stereotypes.
That would be what someone just sent me in regards to, I wonder why it's in lockdown, must be active and select.
It says safety advisory.
Okay, guys, moving on.
If we die, we die.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that would be what someone just sent me.
If we die, we don't have to take a
Right
test
now.
on Wednesday, so. If we die, we don't have to take a test on Wednesday.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, true. Okay, muscle tone, guys. Now, this is in regards to, at all times, we kind of have this constant tension by muscles for long periods of time. They kind of sequence, okay? Think about muscles that are allowing for posture, okay? We can't have all those muscles contracting all the time. They would fatigue constantly. So you've got kind of a percentage of them that are in contraction, they relax, then you have another percentage of those muscles that contract. It kind of goes in a sequence. These muscles have their own kind of their time intervals. This also helps to deter muscle atrophy. We have to keep muscles active or they atrophy, they wither away if we don't use them for extended periods. You know, it's amazing, you think about this, like concepts of like muscle tone, where like certain muscles in our body are working at all times, and you think of like posture and at all times being stimulated in sequences, right? And I'm like, that requires massive amounts of energy.
That's where you get your base metabolic rate, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm like thinking, wow, I should be thin as a rail.
Me too.
Well, you think about it, I'm like, with all this energy we're expending,
Well, we eat too much.
what, and that's partially, yes.
That's right, we eat
Yes.
more than we burn.
True, true. Really, yeah, your appetite increases much more when you work out, yeah.
We're really always moving, we're not really.
True,
really
yeah,
still.
yeah.
Unless you're with my husband. Gotta make him move.
Alright. Talking briefly about the types of muscle contractions. We have isometric and isotonic. Isometric, where we would have no change in length, but increased tension. Isotonic, on the other hand, would change in length, but constant tension. This is probably more in lines for some of our health education people that are gonna go physical education route, PT route. I think James, that was your route, right? Yeah. I don't know if anyone else is going that route, more PT, more physical therapy, personal training kind of route. Underneath isotonic, you have two subdivisions. You've got concentric and eccentric. Again, guys, just briefly look over these terms and the different types of muscle contractions.
What does it mean, overcomes opposing resistance?
Yes.
Concentric?
Oh, well.
It's just like able to lift up the resistance of it.
You're, think about a weight.
So
You're
the
opposing
tension,
that
the tension
resistance.
changes and it shortens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see, okay, no movement.
You've got, so the weight hasn't changed, like if you're using a bar,
Right.
a dumbbell, that weight hasn't changed. But you're opposing that weight by whatever force you, like, think of a curl.
Mhm.
Okay, now we have two primary ways of generating force to allow for muscle contraction. You have summation and you have recruitment. So the basic strength of muscle contraction is based upon these two factors, summation. So if we increase the number of stimuli, the frequency of stimuli, more cross bridges will form. Summation occurs, muscle contraction force is increased.
So it doesn't,
So frequency, if you think about if we increase the amount of action potentials we're sending, we increase the muscle force. The second factor that comes into play in regards to muscle contraction strength is recruitment. If we recruit more motor units, then the muscle contraction force increases.
so generation of the force doesn't have anything to do with midichlorians.
With what?
Midichlorians
What?
from Star Wars? The Force?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh my gosh. Your connections are like, what? No, I don't know. Sometimes I like being old because I truly don't know and it just,
That came out when you were younger. It's not an excuse.
yeah. It's probably 30, but I'm not that old. It's okay, guys.
It's okay. Midichlorians didn't come to be until like 99. They introduced it in Phantom Menace. I think it was 99.
I was probably drunk in
You were,
99.
you were, oh, well, yeah, 2000, the world was gonna end, remember that? Y2K, do you remember?
Oh my gosh.
I was
We
explaining
stood
that
in
to
front
my.
of the TV and watched the
I
countdown.
remember it was midnight.
With flashlights, we're like, okay, is this gonna happen?
I was explaining that
Atlanta,
to my
and there was a
10-year-old.
police officer at my door at midnight. I don't remember why now. I don't remember why now, but yeah, there was, I was by myself, so it wasn't, it was, I mean, like I said, yeah, Y2K midnight was on my door. I'm not sure why, but I was living in Atlanta, I'm not sure. Nothing bad though, guys, nothing bad.
Don't feel bad, I don't remember much from that time.
Well, I meant more in the sense that maybe it was a fire alarm that went off. I don't think it was anything like crazy. That was pretty funny though, and everyone's, right when the clock struck midnight, everyone was like, power's still on, we're all alive, you know, remember that? You're like, the power's still on. What?
My friend called her car account to see if she still had a car payment.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know you still got a
Everyone
car
thought everything was
payment.
gonna be wiped out, you're like, wait, still here, power's still on. Okay guys, briefly, we're gonna touch upon tetanus. These are kind of just these last concepts of the chapter that a lot of it's gonna be not so much application questions, but more just terminology questions, okay? So looking at 3 different types of tetanus, this is going to be in relation to action potential frequency. So if we are sending more action potentials, more frequent action potentials, okay?
We got the
Contraction
all
is going to occur with a greater force. What were you reading about the education building? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, we got the all clear, everything's good, suspect is in custody.
Suspect. There's a suspect. Wow. I know, I'm like, wow. So 3 different types of tetanus, guys, just briefly look over them. So you've got the twitch, you've got the incomplete tetanus, and the complete tetanus. Every time I hear tetanus, I always think of a tetanus shot.
Right.
Doesn't have anything to do with the disease that it's preventing, is it?
Well, I mean, no,
I don't actually know what tetanus does.
no. Doesn't it cause muscle contraction?
I have no
Like
idea.
like stiff, like
I
muscle
think it does.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it,
So it kind of would be.
it
yeah.
does.
Do they even do tetanus shots anymore?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
They sure do, and
Do they really?
I've never had one, but I had a friend who,
And they're
Like-
big. Yeah, they hurt. They're painful. Yeah.
They're not that
She-
bad.
Woo.
They're not that bad.
I've had a couple, but I don't remember.
she said she'd rather have another child.
What?
I've
Yes,
had
because she had to get them all over. Her dog attacked a raccoon,
Oh,
and she got in
no.
the middle of it, and it like scratched her arm, scratched her stomach. I
No, that
mean,
sounds
it,
like
tore
rabies.
her up.
rabies shots.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I said,
ra-
that's not-
I don't know
rabies
what I
are
was thinking
painful.
about. Look, I am not here.
Yeah, rabies
okay,
is a
that's okay.
large gauge and it's an abdominal
Jane,
shot.
you
so
don't
yeah,
have to tell
that
me I
hurts.
walked into the men's room today and didn't think anything of it. I thought we had nice new sinks. That's really what I was thinking.
And no mirrors.
Yeah, exactly.
Body shaming. Okay.
Everyone was like, "Did you notice the urinals?" I'm like, I probably didn't even think twice about it. I was like, "Oh, that's a new feature in the women's room. You never know nowadays."
When I walked
You know what I
in
mean? You
there,
just don't know.
I was lucky enough that there was a sign over the door that they were cleaning it, and I had to run in there real quick, and she's like, "What? Is there something wrong with the ladies' room?" I said, "What?"
I get it. Don't tell me.
I looked underneath their little clothes flag.
So multi-wave, just both. Multi-wave is considered twitch then?
No, it's summation. So muscle tension increases as contraction frequency. So the more we send these action potentials, the more frequent we send them, the more muscle tension increases as contraction frequencies increase. You're right. So yeah, so we're gonna have incomplete. So when you kind of add them together, yeah, muscle summation. Again, this is just more terminology stuff, guys. This is not gonna be application questions. I wanna finish up briefly, guys, briefly look over our 2 primary types of muscle fibers that we have in our body, red and white. And the other thing I want you to notate is myoglobin. Make sure you highlight that word. That's that pigmented protein in muscle fibers that stores oxygen. As you notice here, the 2 different types of twitch fibers that we have either high in myoglobin, they allow for more oxygen to permeate those muscles, and the white muscle fibers, which are going to be our fast twitch fibers, are going to have a very low concentration of myoglobin in them. Think about fast twitch. Think about like sprinting muscles
They're real big.
used for anaerobic, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, guys, in regards to these twitch fibers, briefly look over in regards to their comparing the 2 of them. You've got the red ones like I said, and know the definition or what myoglobin is. And the other thing is general characteristics involved with both of these. So the first one would be red one. They're more for endurance. They use aerobic energy, whereas our white have low myoglobin. Okay, they are more of our anaerobic type of muscles. And they are fast acting, but they also tire much quicker.
You would think it would be backwards though.
Well, not really, because the myoglobin is what is actually going to help store the oxygen. So these are the ones that are long, standing, long, enduring. They store a lot more oxygen. They use aerobic mechanisms. These muscles, on the other hand, use primarily like anaerobic. They're fast acting. They don't last long though.
They're,
Right.
yeah, slow twitch are going to be your efficient users of energy. You ever see the video of the German track cyclist?
No.
And he powers a toaster enough to toast a piece of bread.
Oh my goodness, that much energy and his
Oh
pedaling.
my
Okay.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
But his legs are some of the biggest in the world. And
Oh, goodness.
they're
Tree
almost
trunks?
completely white muscle fiber.
Just true charts, huh? Yeah. Okay, guys. Like I said, this chart is in your book. Please look over it. Just the general, comparing those two types of fibers as well as myoglobin. Lastly, guys. Our three energy sources, our three primary energy sources for muscle contraction. So muscle fibers have three ATP-dependent proteins. We have the myosin head, which needs ATP. We have the sodium-potassium ATPase, and again, remember that sodium-potassium pump that's going to help maintain that resting membrane potential. And you also have the calcium pump. That all need some type of energy source, okay? So we have three types of energy sources. Apparently it's all over the news because my son just texted all worried. It's all over the news that we're in lockdown. They just said FTCC campus, so everyone's freaking out. I know, my son's like, is everyone all right there? I said, yeah, we're good.
Oh.
Can you imagine just staying here? I'm like, all right, who brought the snacks? Isn't that terrible? I would be like, all right, who brought the snacks? And
Person below is right next to snacks.
Did I hear that there was another shooting yesterday, right after the main one?
You talking about the one in Maine?
But there was another one the next day. The one in Maine I did hear
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
but then there was a one yesterday as well.
Where?
I can't remember because they said it was quite a few dead as well, and I'm thinking,
I didn't hear
what's
about that
going
one.
on?
I was at baseball.
Okay. Was where? I don't know. It's just mad. Because they still haven't determined why that guy in Maine did that. So,
He killed himself.
what they haven't right, but they don't know why he killed 18 people and injured 13. They don't know why.
It was a cleansing. Wasn't he military?
Yeah,
He
there was
was.
a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
was talking about
It
him
was
being military
cleansing-
and
cleansing.
He was incredibly right wing,
Yeah.
He was cleansing, like you saying, like society.
like ethnic cleansing.
Oh, that's what he was doing in
Yeah.
Maine, out of all places. Okay, Maine, really?
What hunting?
ethnic cleansing.
Is that what
You know,
they
like
said
what
it was?
Israel is doing to Palestine.
Oh, yeah.
Same.
It's all over the news, apparently there's like some emergency warning going out.
Didn't he just get?
I know.
We just sit here chilling.
I know, we're like,
What's
we're
happening?
talking about muscle contraction, guys.
Somebody's trying to.
Well, apparently, you know, honestly though, if we were stuck here for a while, we would really get nitty gritty on muscle contraction. Don't even tell me you wanna go out there and face the shooter, you're like, I'd rather hear about muscle contraction. Alright, lastly guys, this right here guys is in your textbook in regards to the 3 primary sources of energy. Look it over, I'm gonna put this slide up here for you. Again, this is basically just talking about that chart. So look over the 3 primary sources of energy that muscles need, okay? So ATP, again, remember we need those 3 mechanisms in regards to muscle contraction that need ATP, okay? So these are the ways that ATP is gonna be available. Please make sure you know this is the number 1. This is what's gonna happen first, okay? So our first source of ATP is gonna come from creatine phosphate. Our second one is gonna come from anaerobic production. Okay, again, we're not gonna have oxygen available. This is gonna be our first sources of energy. We're gonna go there first. These run out very quickly though, very quickly. Our last one is gonna be aerobic. This is gonna be our long-term form of energy. And this obviously requires oxygen. So know the ones that require oxygen, know the one that does not require oxygen, and know the first one that is used, creatine phosphate. Yep. Guys, you guys have any questions for your exam on Wednesday? I will not be here. I won't be back on campus until next week. So, again, Wednesday is your exam with Dr. Fitch, chapters 8, 9, and a tiny bit of 10. Have a good week, guys.